talk with you all.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, Lara. It's a pleasure. Today is a very special day. Buenas tardes a todos. Bienvenida, Lara Prescott. Hoy es un día muy especial because it's the first virtual meeting in English. So, we have a translator, that is Sorlia, accompanies us so that everyone can follow the talk and participate. Tenemos un traductor que es Sorlia, así que todo el mundo va a poder seguir la charla y va a poder participar. Me pongo a hablar ya en español. Lara, I'm going to speak in Spanish and Sorlia translate us. Okay. La primera pregunta que te queríamos hacer, lo primero, enhorabuena por la novela, es fantástica. La primera pregunta que te quería hacer es sobre el complejo problema de caer en moralismos al escribir una novela sobre la Guerra Fría. Mi pregunta sería, para resumirla y sintetizarla, ¿cómo has tratado este tema de no caer en moralismos, sobre todo escribiendo desde los Estados Unidos?
So first of all, I'd like to congratulate you on the novel. It's fantastic. We really loved it, and I know that writing about the Cold War, it's a complex problem not to fall into moralism. And I wanted to ask you, how did you face that problem, especially writing from the United States, not to fall into this challenge of moralism?
Yes, I am very interested in Cold War history, and it was important for me to express that there were no real winners and losers. There were no good guys and bad guys, and that both sides did their fair share of nefarious actions, actually. And so when I was writing this book, I did want to portray things, you know, this is a fantastical mission of the CIA. They believed literature could change the world. They wanted to use Dr. Zhivago as a tool of propaganda against the Soviets. And this is a beautiful idea that books can change the world. But at the same time, they themselves were persecuting their own employees for not being able to express themselves or love who they wanted to love. And so even while the CIA was proclaiming we were the land of the free, that was really just lip service, I think. And I wanted to show both of those sides that there was no free land.
Bueno, disfruto mucho de la historia de la Guerra Fría para empezar, y quería explicar que durante la Guerra Fría no había ganadores ni perdedores realmente. Cada lado tenía su propia parte de la culpa de lo que pasó. Y esta misión de la CIA fue una misión fantástica, que querían usar la literatura como un instrumento en la guerra, porque estaban convencidos de que los libros podrían cambiar el mundo. Entonces, la idea en sí es muy buena de que los libros pueden cambiar el mundo, pero a la vez ellos, aunque tenían esa misión con los libros y luchaban por la libertad, a la vez perseguían a sus propios empleados. Sus propios empleados no tenían libertad, ni libertad para amar a quien quiera. Entonces tenemos como esos dos lados de la moneda que quería demostrar.
Yeah, sorry, my light just went out. But it's really fascinating to me because the view of the typist, and their voice was the first voice that came to me while writing this novel. I was researching these CIA documents, and many of these memos and reports had redactions throughout them. So you didn't know who the actual officers involved in the mission were. And that led me down almost a rabbit hole to think, who were the people who typed these documents? And that's when I was introduced to the world of the CIA typist and the typing pool. And it was a voice that came to me in the middle of the night, that first sentence of the novel. And I emailed it to myself because I knew I would forget it if I just went back to sleep. And in the morning, I thought, can I continue with this voice? And it was almost just an experiment to have this plural voice of the we. And I just started running with it. And from there, I continued to do many hours of research about the early women of the CIA, what their experiences were like, what it was like to work in the typing pool. And I had unfortunately didn't know anyone that was in the typing pool in the CIA. But after my book came out, one of them contacted me, and she had worked at the CIA in 1960, so right around the same time as a typist. And at first I was afraid that I got something wrong, but she said I got it exactly right, which was probably one of the best compliments I had. So that was the story behind The Voice of the Typist.
Bueno, toda esa historia es fascinante, la verdad. La voz de las mecanógrafas. Me empecé leyendo informes y vi que todos los informes fueron editados. No se sabía quién era el agente detrás de los informes. Entonces, la única cosa que veía es que fueron mecanografiadas por estas chicas que trabajaban en la sala, pasando todo a máquina. Luego, después de leer algunos de esos informes, en mitad de la noche, de repente me desperté y me vino como una frase de una mecanógrafa comentando, diciendo algo. Entonces, me apunté la frase y me lo mandé por móvil, así en mitad de la noche, para no olvidarlo, porque sabía que si me quedaba dormida, otra vez se me le iba a olvidar al día siguiente. Entonces, por la mañana estaba reflexionando al leer la frase si podía continuar con esa voz narrativa de esa forma. Y seguí con horas de investigación sobre las experiencias de las mecanógrafas y cómo salieron. No conocía a nadie personalmente, era simplemente de leer los informes, de esta voz que me vino a la cabeza. Pero después de que salió el libro, una señora que había trabajado en la CIA de mecanógrafa en 1960 se me acercó y me comentó, me habló un poco de su experiencia. Y yo estaba preocupada de que de que me había equivocado de alguna forma, pero ella me aseguró que lo había clavado todo, que estaba todo exacto.
That's a very interesting question. I can't exactly tell you what transpired, but I do think she became aware of putting Boris first at times above other members of her family, and due to her standing by his side and the suffering that she went through for Boris and for the book Dr. Zhivago was immense. And it is interesting because I think her daughter Irina also held him to similar high esteem, and maybe parroting her mother and following her lead, but stood by Boris's side as well. And Irina ended up suffering because of that relationship. She was sentenced to the Gulag as well. So if she could maybe think of all the consequences and then go back in time and change, perhaps. But I think at the time she was doing the best that she could, given her circumstances and the way the world was. And not only was Boris someone that she loved, but he was someone that could protect her and offer her support and her family support as she was a single mother.
Es una pregunta muy, muy interesante. Gracias. La verdad es que no sé lo que habría pasado si lo hubiera sabido de antemano. Yo creo que sí que se dio cuenta con el tiempo del efecto de poner a Boris primero antes que incluso otros miembros de su familia, y ella misma sufrió para que saliera a la luz el libro. Su hija también tenía a Boris en mucha estima y ella también sufrió, fue sentenciada al Gulag. Y ahora quizás si pudiera dar marcha atrás y saberlo de antemano, quizás habría actuado de otra forma, pero en realidad no lo sabemos y probablemente actuó de la mejor manera que ella supiera hacerlo en el mundo de aquel entonces, teniendo en cuenta que fue una madre soltera y recibió apoyo de Boris y se sintió amada y protegida también. Onwards.
Yes, so the Voice of the Typist, as I said, was the first voice that came to me. But as I drilled down from this group, two characters started to emerge who became two of the main characters of the novel. The first one was Irina, and the second one was Sally. And they came about because of all of the research I was doing about the roles of women in the early days of the CIA, what roles they could do, what roles they couldn't. And I was really inspired by real life spies, such as Virginia Hall and Betty McIntosh. And these characters were almost amalgamations of some of this research that I put together. And I always knew regarding the love story that happens between the two women, I always wanted to have a mirror with what was going on in not only in the Soviet Union between Olga and Boris, but a mirror of almost Dr. Zhivago and how Dr. Zhivago is known to be this great love story, a tragic love story between two people whose love couldn't be. And I always knew I wanted that element in my novel. It was almost a surprise to me that it came about between two women, but it was a very organic experience that when I was developing these characters and then when I put them together, that side of the story started to develop. And once I had that in place, I just wanted to know, how that love would change their lives and what directions their lives would take because of it.
Yeah.
Pues la primera vez, como comenté al principio, la primera voz que escuché cuando al principio con mi investigación sobre el tema era la voz de las mecanógrafas, y de ahí empecé con mi investigación a desarrollar dos personajes. La primera fue Arina y la segunda Sally. Mientras investigaba el papel de la mujer en aquel entonces en la CIA. Entonces es como una mezcla de la historia de Virginia Hall y Betty McIntosh, que es una historia de amor. En realidad es como si fuera un espejo de la historia de amor del Dr. Zhivago, que es como un amor imposible. Entonces, al principio no tenía claro, sí que tenía claro que quería como reflejar esa historia de amor, una historia de amor parecido a la novela original, pero no pensaba que iba a ser entre dos mujeres. Pero cuando iba desarrollando esos personajes, pues me di cuenta que podría ser esa la historia de amor entre ellos, y luego pues se desarrolló de ahí y cómo iba a cambiar. Quería analizar un poco cómo iba a cambiar la vida de las dos.
Yes, that is such an interesting question. And while there's no confirmation that they did influence the Nobel Prize, there is in an early memo, and it says something that we would like to use this novel for propaganda purposes and possible consideration of the Nobel Prize. So that's only hint that they gave us if they had a role in him winning the Nobel Prize. But I will say, even before Dr. Zhivago, Boris Pasternak was one of the most famous poets of on Earth, and he was his name was constantly being brought up as a contender for the Nobel Prize before Dr. Zhivago. So it's not that big of a stretch that he would win it, but that year that he won it, and how it created, this tremendous uproar after he had to turn it down was fit pretty nicely into the CIA's plans. But no confirmation, or they haven't released the documents if they did have any real say, but they mentioned it.
Es una pregunta muy interesante. No he encontrado ninguna confirmación, pero sí que he encontrado una mención en un memorándum de la CIA donde mencionaron que sí que nos gustaría usar la novela como propaganda y que sería un candidato interesante para el Nobel, pero no que hubieran influido en el proceso directamente. Hay que tener en cuenta que Boris fue un poeta muy conocido y de renombre antes incluso que Dr. Zhivago. Entonces el hecho de que hubiera ganado tampoco es una sorpresa grande, pero todo lo que siguió y después encajó a la perfección en la narrativa del CIA y en lo que el CIA quería.
Yeah, so my book will be published. It hasn't been published yet, but it will be published this autumn in Russia. So that is very exciting. I saw the cover and the translation, and I have been seeing a few initial reviews that have been very good. I've been translating it via Google Translate, so I hope maybe they're not good, but they seem pretty good from Google Translate. And something that's interesting, while I was writing this novel, I was at the University of Texas, and some of my peers in the program with me, because I got my Master's of Fine Arts here, they were Russian, and they were one of my first readers. And one of them was from Ukraine, one was from Russia, and one was from Belarus, and they were all fluent Russian speakers, all had ties to the former Soviet Union, and they were such great helps for me in kind of getting telling me what I got wrong, telling me what I needed to dig more into. But then I also had the opportunity to take classes at the university on Russian literature and Russian theory and things like that that really aided in the novel. But we will see if it goes over well there. Boris is such an interesting figure because his words weren't allowed to be read in the Soviet Union until 1980, either 88 or 89. It was still banned until then. I'm sorry, it was 88. And so people had always read him, you know, on the black market even, but he isn't the same celebrated figure there as, at least in my opinion, as a Tolstoy or a Pushkin. He doesn't have those giant monuments in Moscow to him. So his history is a little muddled there.
Todavía no se ha publicado en ruso el novela. Se va a publicar ahora este otoño. He visto la cubierta y la traducción y creo que va a quedar bien. También he leído algunas opiniones en ruso y los he tenido que meter por el traductor de Google. Y creo que van bien. Al menos el traductor de Google es lo que la impresión que me da. Cuando escribí esa novela estaba haciendo un máster en la Universidad de Texas, en Estados Unidos, y tenía 3 compañeros que hablaban ruso, uno de Ucrania, otro de Rusia y otro de Belarus, que vivían en la antigua Unión Soviética, y ellos me comentaban y me decían que realmente sí que les gustaba. También tomé algunas clases de literatura y de rusa y de teoría rusa, entonces sí que me iba documentando sobre la situación. Pero bueno, ya veremos cómo va. Boris creo que no es un escritor tan conocido, de tanto renombre en la Unión Soviética como pueden ser Pushkin o Tolstoy, porque la gente no le podían leer ni siquiera sus escritos hasta 1988, estaban prohibidos. Aunque la gente sí que los leía en el mercado negro, aún así la historia sobre él es un poco confuso ahí.
Yeah, so you're definitely right. I think that it became, when Reese Witherspoon announced that my book was her September pick, it went to the New York Times bestseller list, which I'm a debut author. This is my first book. No one knew who I was. And so that was, you know, such a thrill and a surprise that she picked my book, and it definitely made it more widely read. So I thank her so much. And I am a fan of her book club. I think I'm such a fan of her work in supporting women artists, and that's what the book club is about. It's about supporting women writers, women authors, and women's stories. And she, you know, is using her celebrity to bring those stories to a wider audience. That's her mission statement, and that she chose my book was just such an honor. And I think I think there's some of her books have been translated into Spanish. I'm sure. I don't know if Kylie Reed's book was published in Spanish, but there's quite a few I could maybe recommend after this that you could read too. But I think it's a great club and a great experience so far.
La verdad es que sí, es cierto. Después que Reese Witherspoon lo había elegido como su elección del mes de septiembre, nada más pasa eso, pues llegó a la lista de los libros mejor vendidos del Times. Y fue una sorpresa para mí porque soy una nueva autora y entonces la verdad no lo esperaba. Y creo que es fantástico lo que hace Reese con su club de apoyo, me encanta, porque la misión que tiene es apoyar a las mujeres escritoras, autoras, artistas y llevar su trabajo a un público más amplio con su fama y su peso detrás, pues creo que está haciendo un trabajo magnífico. Ya creo que algunos de los otros autoras sus libros fueron traducidos ya al español, que puedo recomendar alguno después, si queréis.
I don't know, Lara, if you have time for one more question.
Yes.
Is it possible? Yeah, perfect.
That'd be great.
Okay.
I first wrote about Teddy, and I think during my first drafts I had much more of Teddy's story. But I knew that I ran into almost a wall where I couldn't tell the whole story of how the book came over to the United States without getting in the mind or the thoughts of a male CIA officer, because they were likely the ones to bring it over and have this role. And I wanted that point of view to be told. I wanted to explore the, you know, the background of why they were so obsessed with books and could use books as a way to change the world. And I thought through Teddy's eyes, I could do that. I will say that I had more Teddy, and then he he kind of got cut as the editing process went along. So I cut a little bit, my editor cut a little bit. So maybe that's why he stands out. But I loved writing from his point of view.
Pues tenía mucho más de Teddy en el primer borrador del libro, pero yo creo que la he incluido porque veía que no podía contar toda la historia sin incluir esa visión de un agente masculino del CIA, porque en realidad la novela habría llegado a Estados Unidos a través de un hombre agente del CIA, entonces necesitaba ese punto de vista. Y también reflejar por qué estaban obsesionados con los libros y cómo los libros podían cambiar el mundo. Entonces quería representar eso también. Así que al principio tenía mucho más de la narración desde el punto de vista de Teddy, pero al final yo corté un poco, el editor cortó otro poco y al final se ha quedado así con un capítulo en medio.
Okay, so thank you very much, Lara. We have to speak about half hour for this meeting, so I think that we can finish now. Muchísimas gracias a Lara. Habíamos hablado de tener un encuentro de una media hora, así que yo creo que lo podemos terminar. Y yo creo que en nombre de todos los miembros del Club de Lectura de la Comunidad de Madrid te agradecemos que hayas podido estar con nosotros y que nos hayas dedicado este tiempo, porque es muy gratificante para los lectores poder encontrarse con los escritores y preguntarles cosas que parecen triviales, pero que quedan ahí en la lectura y que hacen que sea mucho más rica y más interesante.
I want to say thank you so much. This has really made my week to be able to connect with you across the world. I think you can see even now books still connect us, and the thought that we have a pandemic going on, we're all at home, but we can still reach across time and place through books. And this has really proved that point almost in a physical way. So thank you so much for having me. And, you know, before the pandemic, I was in Spain to promote the release of the book, and I really hope to return as soon as I can. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Quería agradecer esta oportunidad, me ha encantado y realmente es como el punto álgido de mi semana, el poder estar aquí, cruzarnos, como cruzar el mundo de forma virtual. Es una demostración que los libros pueden cruzar el tiempo y el espacio realmente y unificar el mundo de esta forma. Antes de la pandemia estuve en España para promocionar el libro y estoy deseando poder volver a España.